Well, when I arrived at the track this morning, the PA system was playing "Hit the Road, Jack, and Don't You Come Back No More." And I have a feeling that will be the message from Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the American public to Formula One after the farce that we witnessed here today. It's easy to see the arguments on both sides. From Michelin's point of view, they knew from Friday and those accidents that they had a problem. They allowed their teams to qualify, single-lap qualifying on Saturday, so we did get a grid. But they were saying to the FIA, we cannot race these tyres. Final confirmation that the tyres were unsafe didn't come through till 6 o'clock on Sunday morning. And from then on, it was a series of meetings. How could we get this race going? The Michelin teams were saying, well, the only way we can do it is by slowing the cars down through the turn 13 banking. That's where the real danger spot is. If we put a chicane there, then even if we have a tyre failure somewhere else on the track, it won't be at such high speeds. The FIA were just not entertaining this idea at all. They didn't want to put a chicane at the last minute. Their argument was, why should we penalise the Bridgestone teams, Ferrari, Jordan and Minardi, who through no fault of their own would find themselves on the back foot just so we could accommodate Michelin. It was a real mess. It went right up to the wire, and even 5 minutes before the cars went out to the pit lane, there was still negotiations going on. But my own feeling, I think if the FIA had wanted to avoid what happened here today, they would have found a way to avoid it.
Yeah, I know. For the first time ever, a Toyota lines up at the front of the grid. Seconds later, you're in the pit lane. I mean, this is just the most bizarre situation. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's a big frustration for the whole team, for the drivers, for Formula One in general, especially here in front of the USA fans. But we couldn't avoid this situation. We were in danger, we knew it. And it was very clear that Michelin runners couldn't race today.
It's the first time I can ever remember being back out of the garage, out the back of the garage while the car's racing. I'm not in the slightest bit interested. This is not a race, it's a farce.
First thing is an apology to everyone. Secondly is just a simple chronology of the events with Michelin, telling us that the tyres are unsafe to use. Simple as that.
Are you embarrassed?
Very much so. No, we'd have loved to have run today, especially from our point of view. Jensen was towards the front of the grid, so you know, we look good.
Jensen, what kind of response are you expecting to get from the fans when you go through these turnstiles?
I'm sure it won't be great, but there's not much we can do about that. You know, it's terrible for them, I'm sure. You know, they've come to watch a Formula One race here. But we can't do much. You know, we have to think about our safety first, and if it's not safe to drive around it for whatever reason, you know, we can't drive. You know, that's basically it.
This could have been sorted, surely.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? But that's not really for me to comment on. You know, there's been a lot of discussion about trying to resolve the issue, but they haven't come to a decision, so we couldn't risk it. You know, it's too dangerous.
If it was you making the decision, what would you have done?
Well, it's difficult, really. You know.
Go on.
Whatever I say will be wrong, so I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, just got to say sorry to the fans, really. It's obviously disappointing for them, so you know, just got to look forward to Mexico now, and hopefully we'll get a good reception.
Flavio, what kind of message is this sending out to people about Formula One?
Only I'm sorry. I think so the message, I'm sorry for the public, I'm sorry for the spectator, I'm sorry for the people watching TV, I'm sorry. But in another one way, and after the press release from Michelin we have in the morning, really was no question for us to racing.
But how can a multi-million-pound sport that travels around the world, has global exposure, find itself in this situation?
Yeah, normal. Sometimes you have a problem with the car, you know, you break a suspension and you call the driver to come back in the garage. This was technical problem from Michelin, happen. I hope it was not happen, you know, happen a problem like that, and we need at least cure the problem. We are very happy to leave in the people from Bristol in front of us. What we ask is only what Michelin asked, a different configuration of the circuit, and what's possible change.
So why did that not happen?
You need to talk with the federation, I don't know why.
Colin, congratulations, I suppose, are in order, but how are you feeling about this podium finish and this large points haul that you've got today?
Well, I think the team did a good job. Of course, the situation is not pleasant, but I mean, we are not responsible for Michelin and for the other teams. I mean, they are not stopping races when we have tire problems, so that's racing.
I'm happy, the team is happy. We did our job. There's nothing we could have done we're not going to stop racing. I mean, we were there to race. We raced, we finished on the podium. I know the circumstances are weird, but we were there till the end, so we deserved it, I think.
How did you feel about the crowd response whilst you were up on the podium?
It's a sad moment because Formula One is not very famous in America, so we have to improve that. How can we improve that? To have a good show. Today we would have had a good show. I mean, Ferrari was starting 5th and 7th, and probably they had the fastest car and would come through they rank really rapidly, but the others retired, and the public seemed to think that it was our fault. I mean, but today there was nothing we could have done. If we could change one corner in Bahrain, I could have finished on the podium because my tire would have finished quite well. So, and they didn't do that, and so why we would have to accept a chicane that we never tested today? It would have been even more dangerous. So I'm sorry for the public here. I'm really sorry. I love to come to America. I love to race here, and I hope we keep on going with better shows in the future.
Don't think it's a bit sad? I mean, we all love racing. That's why we do this job. Don't you think it's all a bit sad today?
That's why we've been here, everybody. But I mean, we're all humans, and sometimes some humans can do mistakes, and we have to accept that.
What was it like racing out there with just Rubens?
It was a tough fight between the two of us. At the beginning, I just controlled the pace, just made sure don't push the tires too hard, and then after pit stop, I found myself a couple of seconds, 3 or 4 seconds behind.
And then what happened when you came out for the second stops?
Yeah, that was obviously a very close situation between him and me. Managed to stay.
I mean, Michael, what do you think Formula One's shown for itself? Do you think maybe the FIA should have come to an arrangement? We should have got a solution that meant everyone could race together.
There was no solution, honestly. As far as I understand, whether they would have gone through the pit lane, whether they would have gone on the speed limit or all lap, the tyre would have failed. That's what I understood.
And the future for Formula One in America doesn't look too bright, and what does that mean?
That means that we have had 5 very good years here. We have a little black spot, and we will return with good racing again.
If I was the public, I would have been very disappointed. But I am a driver who have to put all together all the effort for me to work well with my tire with a rule that doesn't allow me to change. So I've worked really hard. The tires are working quite well. Do I have to accept that somebody brought the wrong tire for here? I don't think so.
Formula One's done some crazy things lately with the FIA interfering with regulations, etc., etc. But this one today, I think, will have far-reaching implications. All this talk about stupid regulations, all the interference in the sport, it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now, because if it doesn't stop, what we're seeing here this afternoon is exactly where Formula One is heading, unless some people quickly act to right the wrongs, and the wrongs start at the top.